All right. So in part two, we're going to now continue where we left off, adding our trading logic. So last time what we did, we created the initial study. We can now access the open and last prices. Um, we can figure out if we're going to go long or short, and we printed that out here. Okay, so at this point, we want to add some logic for it to actually trade for us, right? To go long here and to go short here. So to do that, we're going to issue our trading command. That's the first thing, right? So we have to do this. Let's do bridge dot submit order. Okay, so you want to do that. And our key is going to be XX because we want to send it to the same chart. Is this a buy order? No, it's a short order. Sorry, this is our short. So is buy, I'll make this explicit, false. And let's see about the rest of these parameters. The order type 0 is market, which is what you want to do. This is day, which is fine. Quantity will leave 1. It's a market order, so these prices don't matter. And we're not going to be using attached orders from the CRChart trade window, so I'm going to leave this as false. Okay, so basically we can really leave this like that. Okay, so now let's do that. Add here. This is going to be the same, only instead of buying, we're going to be selling. We're going to be going, instead of selling, we're going to be buying. So is buy is true. Okay, next, I'll run it and it's going to fail, and we're going to see in just a second why. Maybe that's probably the best way to show this. Okay, so I'm running it. Now we're going to wait for this bar to close. When this bar closes, if it closes up, we should be going short. If it goes down, we should be going long. So the bar closed up and we indeed went short, but we got an exception. And the reason we got an exception is because submit order response does not have an attribute of data frame. Okay, that's not implemented yet. But beyond that, there's something we need to do here. What happens is that before we added this, and this, we only had this thing happening, right? So all our messages from the queue were just messages that were coming from this graph data request. Okay, all messages that came in through this queue were from this. Once we added this submit order, we're now getting messages related to this as well. So this queue is now sending me two types of messages, really. One type of message is the graph data request, right? It's coming in on every bar close. And the second type of message is order updates for the orders that we submitted, right? So we're getting updates on this order, that it was submitted, that it's open. We're going to get an update when it's filled and so on. Okay, so that's happening there as well. The problem with that is down here in this logic, we're trying to convert all our messages to open and last. We're assuming that basically that all our messages are this type, which is a mistake. So what we want to do really is only process down here in this area, only process messages that are graph data requests. That's what we really want to do right now. Okay. So the logic we want to get done is if message is a data message, then process, otherwise skip, right? Something like that. So let's do that. Let's do how we do that. The way to do that is using what's called the request ID. Okay, so when I make this graph data request, this function returns a request ID for me. That's unique for my request here. And every time I get a message for this request, it's going to have that request ID as part of the response. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Set this into a variable. So my data ID is equal to the response from this. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to capture the request ID in here. Okay, and when I get back the message, I'm going to check if the message dot request ID, okay, the message I got back from the queue, right, from Sierra charts, if the message ID is not equal to my data ID, okay, if it's not equal, don't do anything, okay, just continue. And if they are equal, it's going to process this logic down here by seeing if we need to submit a new order. Okay, let's move this up here. And just for the sake of it, let's print message. Okay, so we can see what type of messages are coming in and whether we're skipping the right ones or not. Okay, so on the Sierra chart, let's go and clear out all this simulated trades and start over again. All right, so yeah. Okay, so now we're going to wait for the bar to close. Okay, so what happened so far is that we received a message, right? We opened our trade long because this bar was a down bar. So we went long on it. And you'll notice that we have this message here regarding the submit order object, which we skipped, right? We skipped it through this thing. So basically what's happening now is that every time we get a message, we see that it's a data message. We continue processing it down here. If it's not a data message, then we just continue to the next round and skip processing this thing, which is what we're seeing here. So now every time a bar closes, we're going to see trading happening. Right? So the takeaway from this is that using the response ID, okay, or the request ID, sorry, the request ID that I get back from here, I can store that in a parameter. I will then know what each message I get back here, what's the context, what it's related to, and then process it accordingly. Okay, so in this case, this strategy that we're doing right now, when I get a message, I check that it's not a trading related message, that it's actually a data message, and then do my logic accordingly.